In bustling New York, cunning con artist Nikki observes an intriguing scene in a bar. A young woman with blonde hair and great beauty appears harassed by a man and seeks refuge, approaching Nikki's table to use him as a distraction. Their name is Jess. After a few drinks, Jess persuades him to go up to her hotel room, where intimacy quickly develops. Suddenly, a man bursts in with a gun, threatening Nikki's life. Jess claims the intruder is her husband. With wit, Nikki jokes about a serious illness, revealing that he has discovered their deception. Before leaving, he criticizes the clumsiness of their robbery attempt, detailing how they should have acted. After Jess leaves the hotel, curiosity gets the better of him and he seeks her out, inviting her for coffee. He tells her a story about two partners in a scam gone wrong, where one had to shoot the other to pretend they weren't working together. Those partners will be none other than Nikki's father and grandfather, who created something called the Toledo panic button. Impressed, Jess begs him to teach her. Nikki agrees, declaring that the art of the con is a game of concentration. Outside, he explains that attention is like a spotlight and his job is to move in the darkness. The human brain, slow and unable to handle multiple tasks, requires them to get inside the victim's mind, seeing the world from their perspective. While talking, he skillfully removes objects from her, wishes her good luck, and leaves. Nikki moves his operations to New Orleans accompanied by his friend Horst and his team of con artists. A peculiarity of Nikki's is his gambling problem, which manifests when he loses money on horse races. Days later, Jess, who has investigated Nikki, finds him and begs to join the team. Nikki agrees to test her and, knowing in advance of her arrival, immediately introduces her to Horst. It's Super Bowl week and the city is buzzing with people. Jessie joins for a practice session, where they guide her through crowded streets, relieving unsuspecting victims of watches, wallets, and jewelry. Nikki is impressed with her ability and Jess earns a place on the team. They take her to a casino hotel where they initiate her into even more elaborate schemes, such as identity theft and credit card forgery. They even install fake ATMs to record PIN codes. There, Jess meets Farad, Nikki's friend and partner, involved in much more complex schemes. Farad, brazenly, ignores Jess's presence and openly asks details about her, even if Nikki will get involved with her, as he himself would. Despite his attitude, Jess seems to sympathize with him. While explaining to Jess about their handling of stolen data and profit distribution, she notices a necklace she likes. Nikki clarifies that everything taken must be sold to leave no trace. When Jess asks him about a big con, so monumental that it would allow them to retire immediately, he responds that his business is about volume and big cons are just fantasy. Nikki asks for a stack of cash to bet on a horse race while they review the bags and the money is counted. Nikki gets something. A place for Jess, and when she asks him to take her, he suggests she take a taxi. He emphasizes that there shouldn't be a romantic relationship between them. However, some time later, he shows up at her door and they give in to passion. Jess asks him why some people call him mellow. He reveals that his father nicknamed him that, comparing him to a marshmallow because of his softness. Nikki maintains that in this game there's no room for feelings, as they can lead to an abrupt end. The night before the big game, once all the manipulations were finished, Nikki addresses the team and congratulates them on a record week that generated $1,200,000. They were dismissed with the usual promise of sending them their share. Horst hands him the bag with the money and makes him promise not to bet it. Nikki swears under Jess's watchful eye. Nikki and Jess attend an American football game. Jess confesses that she doesn't like this sport, so Nikki proposes a game of small bets between them, like if a fan would catch a hot dog or if another would be too drunk to stand up during the wave. They observed a woman in shorts and bet on how many men would look at her as she passed by. Jess bets 8, Nikki bets 3. A curious man, Mr. Lu Yang, joins the game and bets 5. 7 men look at her while she walks and Jess guesses the closest number. Lu Yang suggests they bet on the game. Jess refuses, as she knows nothing about American football. Nikki accepts a $1,000 bet that Nikki loses. When Nikki tries to leave, Lu Yang practically begs him to continue. Reluctantly, Nikki agrees and raises the bet. He loses and hands over the wad of bills. The bets skyrocket between them. After losing $100,000, Jess throws the money bag at Nikki and tells him she has to leave. He takes the cash, slides it across the table, and bets the rest of what's left, $1,100,000, on a simple high card draw. Lu Yang is excited, accepts the bet and draws a 5. Nikki, euphoric about the odds in his favor, turns his card and sees a 3. He loses everything his team has worked for. Jess sits in shock while Nikki remains paralyzed. Finally, Nikki gets tired and wants to leave. Mr. Luyang provoked him again, saying, "That's what you get for playing with the big boys." Nicky turns around and decides to double the bet again. He asks Luyang to choose any player on the field and he'll guess who it is, a possibility that seems null. Luyang considers it crazy and refuses to bet with people like that. Nicky improves the offer, saying that Jessie will choose the player that Luyang has seen, to her dismay. Luyang can't resist the free money, so he chooses a player. While Jess nervously looks through the binoculars, Luyang offers them one last chance to withdraw. Jess looks at Nicky, who seems to be begging her to accept, but he orders her to choose. Jess nervously scans the players again. Suddenly, she spots Farhad, who is wearing a jersey with the number 55. She smiles and chooses him, and to everyone's surprise, except Nicky's. It is the correct answer. On the way back home in the taxi, Nicky, now with a large sum of money, explains to Jess that all of this was planned from the beginning. Nicky knew that Luyen was a notorious gambler, so she arranged everything so that Luyen would see the number 55 throughout the day, subconsciously inducing him to choose that number at the precise moment. Nor does it make the taxi stop while another car parks behind. She instructs the taxi driver to take Jess to the airport. "You left part of the money and she left without saying another word, leaving Jess confused and heartbroken." 3 years later, in Buenos Aires, Nicky works with a racing car magnate, Rafael Garriga, and his partner Owens. They possess a revolutionary fuel consumption algorithm that will give them an advantage in the upcoming season. However, Rafael fears it may not be enough. For this reason, Nicky pretended to be a disgruntled ex-employee of Rafael and sold a fake version to another team owner, McEwen, his biggest competitor. This way, the competition slows down while they speed up. I did not attend a party at Rafael's mansion. He asks the waiter for water when ordering vodka, pretending to be an alcoholic, to give the impression of getting drunk. Nicky converses with all the guests. When she goes to confront Rafael, part of her plan, she sees Jess coming down the stairs in a stunning red dress and freezes. She kissed Rafael, triggering Nicky's disdain. He approaches Jess, who assures him she's fine alone and has moved past the deceptive game. Nicky looks downcast and goes to get a glass of vodka. Instead, he is served water. Another waiter has spread word about his problem, so he can't even get a drink. After getting drunk on Aplodinis, Nicky plays his role as a disgruntled employee, but instead of pushing Rafael, he punches him in the face, releasing his pent-up anger over Jess's presence. After Owenslow serves, a guard from McEwen approaches him and hands him an invitation to lunch. The next day, while Nicky has lunch with McEwen, he struggles to concentrate. He's irritated and can't stop looking at Jess, who is flirting with Rafael. They agree to resume the conversation when they have definitive proof of the authenticity of Nicky's fuel algorithm. He approaches Jess when she's away from Rafael and tells her not to trust him. She turns the situation around, asking why she should trust Nicky after being abandoned. As she walks away, she throws her purse at him, implying that her own game is still flawless. Nicky closes a deal with McEwen for €3 million, after the data proves the credibility of his fake algorithm. Nicky spends a lot of time trying to get close to Jess, using clever strategies, like the old lady who loses her purse just to talk to her. Jess tells Nicky everything he wants to hear in a flirtatious voice and, just before a kiss, softly whispers, "I've learned a lot since the last time we saw each other, and I'd love to show you how I've learned to manipulate men, just as I've done with you." She warns Nicky to stay away, that she won't fall for his tricks again. As a last resort, Nikitria Farhadpur tries to convince Jess to give him a chance and that he lies to her about New Orleans. He gives her the necklace that she had desired 3 years ago. Nicky manages to have another conversation with her. He confesses that he hasn't worked in some years because he doesn't feel well and even sought help from his father. Jess is direct. "What do you want from me?" Nicky claims to be a different person, but as much as she wants to believe him, Jess finds it difficult, as she knows he's a fraudulent man. Jessie leaves, but she is followed. When Nicky returns to his hotel suite, he sees her sitting by his door. They spend the night together. The next morning, he tells her he's leaving that night and wants Jess to come with him. Right after, Owens is at Nicky's door. He tries to get rid of him, but Owen walks in anyway while Jess tries to stay hidden. Owens complains about his feelings toward the younger generation and Nicky's lack of progress at work, while walking around the apartment as if looking for someone. Jess escapes to the balcony, where she manages to evade Owens, who leaves after dropping off a package. Nicky ended up selling Rafael's real algorithm not only to McEwen, but to all the other racing teams for the same price. He wishes them all good luck and receives the same response. "Who needs luck with friends like you?" totaling approximately €27 million in cash. Nicky receives news that he has been discovered, but hesitates to leave without Jess. With time running out, he takes his bags and opens the door to see Jess, who says, "I'm sorry I'm late." Number 1 of McEwen's guards buys unusual things at a store. The cashier looks at him strangely. After a quick meal, he checks his watch, fastens his seatbelt, puts on his protective gear and floors the accelerator, crashing into Nikki's car. Jess and Nikki are kidnapped and taken to one of Raphael's warehouses with duct tape over their mouths. It turns out the attacker was a spy in McEwen's company, tasked with watching Nikki. Rafaela tells Nikki that she knows he sold the real algorithm to McEwen for $3 million, but there are $27 million in his bags, from which she deduces that he sold it to everyone. Rafaela demands to know how he obtained the true algorithm. He covers Jess's nose until Nikki starts talking. Nikki finally admits that he used Jess and put a spying device in her necklace. So, when she returned to Raphael's hotel room, the device intercepted her computer password. Jess starts crying. Raphael laughs, knowing it's a lie, and removes the tape from her mouth. She confesses to Nikki that Raphael is not her boyfriend, she just wanted his watch, valued at $200,000. She never had intimacy with him and wasn't even in his room, although Raphael insisted on getting close. Jesus did all this to provoke Nikki's jealousy and get revenge. Nikki finally decides to tell the truth, and just as he's about to start, he gets shot in the chest by Owens, which horrifies Garriga and makes him leave. Nikki seemed to be bleeding out while Jess cries and confesses her love to him. It looks like Nikki will die, until Owens reveals that he hit him in the exact place to avoid the main arteries, though he punctured a lung. Owens extracts the blood from Nikki's lungs and revives him. Then, Owens calls Nikki mellow, which makes Jesse realize that Owens is the father of Nikki and Becky, that he was involved in the scam the whole time, and that they have just executed the Toledo panic button. The package that